Dupe. Let's go for some top 5 ships, guys. Who loves ships? I love ships. I love flying ships. Ships are an essential part of playing this game that is reliant on shooting other people's ships. Go figure. So, welcome to our top 5 ships of all time and space. I don't know, I just made that up. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Your hosts for this evening are, of course, Will, Tucker, and David. Nope, I'm changing it around. It's going to be Tucker, David, and Will this time. How's that sound? Tucker, you got top billing now.
Yay! I'm important.
Alright, so what are we doing, guys? We're going from bottom to the top?
I would like to go from bottom to the top.
I'm cool with that.
I feel like much of this list is going to be anticlimactic either way, but...
Maybe we should go from top to bottom. Let's go from top to bottom. Since this is one of those things where we mostly know what the top 4 are going to be, and it's maybe the 4th or 5th ones that are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Alright. Tucker, best ship of all time.
Do you really have to ask? I mean, come on. Look. Okay, so same deal as with captains. Raw power in a vacuum, general utility, specific utility, and influence on the game. Borg sphere. Generic Borg sphere. I mean, come on. Is this a question? Like...
Hey, it might be, because that is not on my list.
Okay, well, I mean, look. Here's the thing. First of all, 2 things to know about my list. I was only going to pick one Borg ship. Because... And the other thing is, minor spoiler alert, all 3 Hidekis and all 3... I'm only going to pick one Hideki fighter, and I'm only going to pick one Federation fighter. Because otherwise my list is literally fighters, 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 Borg, Borg. And that's boring. So, why the sphere... Let me talk about... I don't think I have to tell, like, why the sphere is on this list. Let me talk about why the sphere versus why the tactical cube. Because the tactical cube has gotten a lot less good recently. The Dreadnought limit hit it hard. And it really is, I mean... And this is also the reason it's the sphere instead of the diamond, even though the diamond is a slightly better dial. The fact is, those extra 2 points... Being 38 points is just enough to let you squeeze in some pretty decent captains or upgrades or whatever. So I think it's really the best bang for its buck.
Cool.
So
I don't think you'll get any argument from us there.
Yeah, number 1, we are the Borg. The Borg are amazing.
Generic Borg sphere. David, was that on your list?
Yes, that is also my number 1. For the same, basically the exact same reasons Tucker was talking about. It's bang for buck. It's the 6 dice 360 arc.
Good enough to survive 2 or 3 shots without dying.
Yep. 14 hit points. What more can you really ask for?
Well, we are pretty darn close on that respect. I actually I kind of cheated a little bit. I did 2 ships here. I did Sphere 4270. But also, I am also a big fan of the generic Borg Diamond.
So, I understand why you made those choices. I was just going to say right before you went there, the one major limitation of the Sphere is that it doesn't have a tech slot. That used to matter a lot more than it does now, though.
Sphere doesn't have a tech slot?
The generic Sphere does not have a tech slot.
Oh, the generic one. Gotcha.
4270 does, which is why I mean, there are a lot of times I went 4270 just for the tech slot. But
That definitely has uses. My main use for 4270, though, was the ability to split attacks and go after fighters.
Yeah.
Since fighters are just so darn good.
And that's a consideration. It's just very often I wind up having to cut it for the extra 2 points.
Yeah. So that's why I go for 4270. Everything you said about the sphere, but getting the built-in ability to take out at least generally like the top 2 or 3 tokens of fighters for almost free gets it a big spot. The diamond, because it is the same price and it has the better maneuver dial, which is slightly better for certain combos.
Yeah,
so between those two, it's pretty even for me.
Yeah, I mean we're quibbling about specifics here, but we're all on the same page.
Borg.
Yep.
The Borg are amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Going on to number 2 then. Let's start with David.
All right. Fed Fighter 6. So that is the named version of the retail Fed Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to add damage to a ship that already has hull damage is really, really good. And also, starting with its starting token with Captain Skill 7 and 6 attack dice is just pretty phenomenal. Also, having that shield in addition to the hull gives it survivability against cloaked mines a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're a little less susceptible to Hidekis. You're also susceptible to counterattack dice. And you're a little more survivable against the Sphere 4270 split attack. At least you're making them take more of their dice against you.
David, I'm having real trouble understanding you. We're getting some major distortion.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry.
But we're getting the general idea.
Yeah. So, I'll let Will talk more about what he put Fed Fighter 6 on his list.
I got Fed Fighter 6 on my list as well. Did that make yours, Tucker, or no?
Fed Fighter 6 is my number 3.
We all love these guys. But, yeah, I mean, just the additional fact that unlike the Hidekis, they still go up in attack on their extra top attack token is just really more than they needed. But combined with their ability, which lets them do damage even if they're attacking something and all they have is their last token of 2 attack dice, which might not do anything. I think puts this one over the top for me over the Federation generics.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good things you can do with it, and I will probably still be putting the battle stations bonus on there, the battle stations upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
That and the maneuver dial is pretty amazing as well. You don't know how useful that one combat is until you need to use it.
That's very true.
Yeah. The option of doing a 1 or 2 come about gives you a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Because normally if someone's like touching you on the front, that sounded a little weird. If you are base to base with a ship right in front of you, the 1 come about you will not make it pass, but the 2 come about you will, which is always good to know. Yeah, Tucker, anything else to add for our love of Federation fighters?
Well, I'll talk a little bit why I placed them lower than my number 2. Feds were your number 2?
Feds were my number 2, and Dave's number 2.
Okay. Well, my number 2, so let me just talk about what my number 2 is, because that involves my evaluation of Fed fighters.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2, to absolutely nobody's surprise, was Resource Hidekis. And here's why. Again, to prevent this list from literally becoming nothing but fighters, I said, okay, each fighter type, Hidekis and Fed, is going to take 1 slot. And I was going to give that slot to what I felt was the best of the 3, and then determine which one was higher. I said there are 3 kinds of fighters for each fighter type. There's resource, generic, and unique.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I did it was this. The unique Fed fighters are very strong, but I feel that the generic Hidekis are better than the generic Fed fighters, and the resource Hidekis are better than the resource Fed fighters. So in a split decision, Hidekis get number 2 over Fed fighters. Resource Hidekis are, I feel, the best of the 3, because they get all of the punch of the unique variant, but for only 20 points.
And an ability.
They do. Well, yeah, but the ability. The thing is, like, in order to use the ability, you have to spend more points on an upgrade. And even though there are upgrades as cheap as 2 points, I just don't find myself doing it. And it's like the ability. The Fed ability is really strong because it doesn't require upgrades to work. The unique ability on the Hidekis, honestly, is just almost never relevant to me in my build construction.
Sorry, the unique ones or the resource ones?
The unique ones. The resource
Gotcha.
ones have the ability to shoot out their butt, and that's great.
Oh yeah.
I even forget what is the ability of the resource fed fighters?
They can reroll a die at range 1.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that would be a lot better if they had the ability to get the battle stations thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fed fighters, they're only ever going to use target lock anyway. So, I mean, that
if they can't target lock, well, it's good against. It's okay against cloakers, because then they still get some reroll, and then they can just take their evade action all the time.
That's not worth your resource slot over the generics. Like, an additional 6-die token, the ability to shoot out your butt, is definitely worth a resource slot.
We love shooting things out the butt.
Can you not ever say that again?
Sorry, it's come up a lot. But really, being able to utilize your rear arc is a very big point of a lot of ships.
And even though it's only at range 1, it's still totally worth it.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's enough to shoot out another fighter squadron if it has to, and take a token off.
Next best thing to 360-degree arcs, and we know how good those are.
And I mean, one thing you definitely did way back in the day, you did a show that showed off the versatility of antimatter mines. And part of the versatility of antimatter mines is you only have to put a little tiny bit of that token into your rear arc, and that's true of shooting as well. They only have to have a little bit of tiny bit in that, you know, in that rear arc in order to, and with the maneuverability of fighters, they're not as maneuverable as Fed fighters, but they're still maneuverable, so.
Still got the one turn, still got the, still got to come about even if it is red.
Yeah. So that's why Hidekis are number 2 for me over Fed fighters.
Cool. Yeah. Number 3 for me is actually the generic Hideki fighters.
Same thing with the resource slot.
Yeah, there's always just so many more things, other things I like to try my resource slot on. Especially because if you're using the resource Hidekis, you can't use the officer exchange program.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a consideration for me, but again, I play Borg a lot, and a lot of times my builds don't even use resources anymore, so at that point, why not take the free upgrade? But you're totally valid.
David, do you have Hidekis on your list of any brand, shape, or form?
I do. Generic Hidekis are my number 5.
Number 5? Oh, snap.
Yeah, I like them, but it's that I like the Fed fighters that much more.
I'm just curious what 2 ships you thought were better than... Do you have multiple Borg? Is that what's going on?
I do. I have another Borg ship.
Okay, well, I want to hear what non-Borg, non-fighter ship you think is better than Hideki's.
But wait, my Hidekis, there's one last thing for my Hidekis. And that's that you can throw tribbles on them. You can have You can have 2 sets of Hideki fighters, each with its own nurturing colony of tribbles. 7 attack, 1 defense. Isn't it beautiful?
You know that actually does. On Star Trek Online, you can breed tribbles, and one of my favorite things I've ever seen is there was a guy who wrote a guide to how to breed tribbles in Star Trek Online, and he started the guide by saying, One of the questions I get frequently asked is, how do I start breeding tribbles? Which is usually closely followed by, okay, now how do I stop breeding tribbles?
But it's great. I mean, the Hidekis only have 2 actions anyway. This gives them a 3rd one to try to mess with an opponent. Once you get to round, 4 or 5, when the tribbles aren't doing any good for you, but your opponent's shields are probably gone, and you can dump 2 sets of 3 tribbles onto him at the same time, he's instantly getting the negatives.
Especially if he's Klingon.
Especially Klingons. Poor Klingons. It's very sad. Klingons would do great with tribbles if only weren't for just the whole having to be thematic to the universe.
Yeah.
But that is the end of my generic Hideki fanboying. What was your number 3, David?
Queen Vessel Prime.
Ooh.
Okay, so we've already talked about why the damage is awesome. Why the named versus the generic?
So the named, for 2 reasons. First, being that command ship that can use its scan either for its own attack or a friendly attack to give that extra attack die to somebody. I love boosting a friendly scout cube's meganometric guided charge. Especially with a friendly Denatra and getting a 5-die attack.
Denatra on the Queen Vessel.
Denatra on the
maybe.
Queen Vessel or Denatra on a Vo or something else or nearby. But Denatra on the Queen Vessel would certainly work with that. It's... But you could certainly take Picard on the Queen Vessel Prime, scan, and battle station, and then you're rolling 7 attack dice. There's a lot of flexibility, and it's very rare that you can essentially take an action to gain an attack die with no ill effect. But also, if you can attack first with your queen, with the Queen Vessel Prime, you get the benefit of the scan token, and then a lower captain skill ship can use the scan token that you've already used up for another effect. So it's essentially a 2-for-1. And I like stuff that does that.
That's not bad. Yeah, and stacking attack dice is always a fun thing to do. And by fun, I mean effective.
Yeah. Plus, it's still a 6 attack dice ship. It's a 15 hit point ship. It's hard to go wrong.
Yeah, my problem with that, and I'm going to bet probably Tucker's too, is that at 42 points, it has the same problems as the cube, in which point you are right at that 8-point limit for upgrades.
It's nice gravy, but it just costs a little bit too much. I find myself squeezing a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I'm cool with squeezing for 10 points. Tucker's cool with squeezing for 12 points. We like upgrades on boards.
No, and I do too.
But yeah, there's definitely something to be said for the Queen Vessel Prime. If it wasn't for the limit, she would probably definitely be higher on my list as well.
I mean, look, if there wasn't the Dreadnought limit, things would radically change on my list.
All fighters. Oh, wait, no, that's not it at all. Speaking of your list, Tucker. How about number 4?
Okay, so now that we're out of the realm of Borg fighters, we got to talk about my next 2 ships are ships that are still used, but much less commonly due to the prevalence of those ships, and they are both ships that historically had huge impact on the game's tournament scene.
Okay.
Number 4 is a ship that is, in many ways, I'm going to be frank with you. there
Hi,
were a lot
Frank.
of people who would complain about Borg and then run this ship, and I would say you are not doing anything better. Because it is an expensive ship. It was the basis of many a dreadnought, and it is appropriate that it is in number 4 because of its 4-die 360, and that is, of course, the USS Voyager.
Haha.
Now I know Will hates the Voyager's dial.
Oh God, it's awful.
It's not that bad.
You are the most predictable ship in the universe.
Yes, but you're also doing a 4-die 360 without having to buy a dorsal phaser array, and you're super fast, and you can hold transphasics, and you can load up with the awesome Fed crew.
Torpedoes.
Oh my God, Will!
Stop trying to make Voyager happen, Tucker. No, I'm just kidding.
This from the guy. Go on. Tell me how transphasics are efficient. Okay, tell me how transphasics are inefficient. Go ahead.
What? Can't target lock cloak ships.
Tell me how transphasics are inefficient.
I don't know. Every time I fought them, I've always assimilated them first or killed
You know
Voyager.
what's inefficient? Chang. Chang.
Chang can be used more than once a game. And you can't steal Chang.
Look, if I had a card that said once per game blow up target ship, I would run it, which is why I occasionally run transphasics, okay?
That is true. The only time I've actually seen transphasics be effective is when they blew up my science vessel.
Transphasics have won a lot of people a lot of games, and I was not super fond of them, but the fact of the matter is, you can just do ridiculous quality things. So, anyway, yeah, I don't have to explain why Voyager is good. Voyager is good. We all know it. Yeah. Anyway, Voyager on anybody else's list?
Not on mine, actually.
Yes.
That was your number 4, David?
Yes. I swear, I have original thoughts, guys. I actually do.
I think it's more telling that Dave and I came up with lists that are so incredibly similar. I'm really curious to hear what David's number 5 is.
That was his generic Hideki.
Huh?
That was generic Hideki.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I guess we're just waiting on David's number 3?
Nope, he already did all of his now.
Vessel Prime.
David's done.
Yeah. Okay, so
you locked
and I
David
only have
out.
one ship that's different, which I think says a lot about the problem with this game is that there are clear tiers here. Where David and I, both of whom are skilled players but have very different play styles and building styles, can come up with such a similar list.
Okay, before we get to Tucker's number 5, I'm going to figure out what number 6 ship would have been. If that lines up, this is going to be really scary.
That's cool.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I will go on to my number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my number 4 is one you guys probably see me run a lot. It is not the biggest of ships or the scariest of ships. It is the supportiest of ships.
Ah, yes.
Good old 12 points. Romulan science vessel.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. The reason that's not on my list is that spot will literally just be taken the second a 10-point ship comes out that's not a shuttlecraft.
Yeah, probably. It needs to be able to do other things too. Like, even if the Raven were 10 points, I would not run it over the science vessel. Because with the science vessel's ability to cloak and its better ability to sensor echo when it's not attacking, since I'm going to be cloaked forever because I'm not attacking, gives it so much maneuverability that it is very likely to survive a very long time. As some of you guys may have seen from the video of the North Carolina regionals, how I maneuvered that around just outside of firing arcs so long and so often that it was just, it's one of my favorite things to do.
Firing arcs are irrelevant. There is only the collective.
Let me get out of range 3. Oh, look, I can go any direction and move two templates straight out of your firing range. I will say it can be difficult to figure out how to control it well enough though without accidentally putting it in the wrong spot, which I actually did during the championship. I was out of range 2 by like half an inch. Stupid half an inches. If I could have had my fleet captain on there, I would have.
Sorry, didn't you win that game?
Well, yes, but mistakes were made, damn it. It's okay, mistakes were made on both sides, so. If you ever have a completely, absolutely perfect game in Star Trek, I hope you set it up beforehand, because it is not something that is likely to happen, even no matter what your tier of play is.
And you better film it.
Yeah.
Because it's
And
not
don't
gonna
script
happen
it.
again.
It's all scripted. It's all fake. It's like pro wrestling, man. It's all fake. I'm gonna get a lot of flack from pro wrestling fans.
Dude, it's totally all fake.
Hey, when I was 12 years old, I didn't know that until I saw someone actually move on the mat into position for someone else to hit them off the top rope. I was like, oh, you guys didn't cut that very well on your camera. Now my poor little childhood illusions are shattered. Alright, enough of that. Let's go on to number 5. Should we do my number 5 or Tucker's number 5?
Let's do your number 5. I want to see what it is.
My number 5 is actually a more recent one. I guess Voyager would fill almost the same slot, but I like this one a little bit better because it looks just a little bit cooler. And that is actually the... oh crap, what's its actual name? The Regent's flagship.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
Again, one of the major bonus points is that it can shoot 2 things at range 1 with dice. And if, as we noticed from my Spear 4270 rating, this is a very good ability when combined with the fact that there are going to be lots of fighters flying around. Also, even though it has really bad maneuverability, it has a very nice rear arc that you can use. It has all kinds of cool mirror stuff that just has a lot of nice versatility to it. Like Mirror Universe being the whole kind of patchwork faction has a lot of cool tricks, and this makes them a little bit cheaper. As in, you know, no penalty. But besides that, it's like pro wrestling in that it's awesome. Yes, it is awesome. Star Trek is awesome. Dang it. That's all I'm going to say about that. At least until Tucker shows up to a tournament wearing Macho Man Randy Savage shades.
Those are aviators, right?
I don't know, maybe.
I wear aviators a lot.
And the bright neon spandex.
No.
So before we continue going on that, any dissent about Regent's flagship?
Oh, I
It's
like the ship.
this, but it's good. I mean, I see why you put it on there.
The dial's kind of a pain, but
Yeah, it's like
The dial's kind of a pain, but I've started learning that dials don't matter as much when your favorite resource is the fleet captain that lets you do the 1 turns for free.
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That has been my favorite fleet captain for a while, and the new ruling just made him better, so I'm probably not trading him out for a while.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and when you have a 360 range 1, you don't much care about facing.
Getting close, shoot everything. They are not
Yeah.
aviators. I don't know what kind of glass they are. It's been so long since I've seen since I've seen poor Macho Man, rest his soul. He passed a couple of years ago, didn't he?
Did he?
I think he did. I could be wrong.
I don't know, because I don't actually care about wrestling at all. But
Tucker,
you're right.
These are
That's the
icons of our time. Or my time. That's right, you're a youngin'.
wow,
No.
he was old.
There's a lot of people been getting old lately. Leonard Nimoy's in the hospital.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, by the way, is I actually have a friend who's a relative of Leonard Nimoy's, and, you know, yeah, I feel for her.
Yeah. That's okay. Let's go on to number 5 for you, Tucker.
Yeah, because I guess the only one now. So,
yep.
This ship is... There are probably a couple ships out there that are a little bit better than it now, just in terms of raw power, but it still is one of the most powerful ships in the game. It has immense historical impact. Back in the day, there were people that would complain non-stop about this ship and its, quote, overpoweredness, end quote. So I have to give it the edge because of that, and because, canonically, it is possibly the oldest ship in the game. And that is the generic Vorcha.
That was close.
Yeah. One of the famous stories about stall playtesting that faction purists tend to not like is a story that Andrew Parks told, where he said, we had our first playtest, and then literally the first thing we said was, okay, let's put Picard on a Klingon ship. Well, the implication of that is that they had a Klingon ship already, and since the Vorcha is the one that came in the starter, it is reasonable to assume that that was the Klingon ship. So probably the first 2 ships they made were the Enterprise and the Vorcha. And so I have to give it a little bit of history just for that. Also because it's a friggin' amazing ship. I mean, you know, the only ship cheaper than it that rolls more attack dice is the I think the generic Borg bird of prey, and then the Keldon. And both of them have disadvantages to the Vorcha. You know, up in fighters, Martok, Worf, Galron was still a hugely competitive fleet.
Mm-hmm.
They are venerable, and they're wonderful, and they gave me some of my earliest OP high finishes. When I stopped playing them, I passed them on to my girlfriend at the time, who also loved them. They're just they're a great ship that will always hold a very special place in my heart. And on this list.
So many
Are they
Vorchas.
better than Voyager? No. Are they better than fighters? No. Are they better than Borg? Of course not. But they're still great.
The Borg of Wave 0. They were the fleet to beat.
Yeah.
Then we got Keldons.
I still contend that Vorchas give Keldons a run for their money.
Mm.
If I get behind you playing a fleet of Vorchas against Keldons, you are so dead.
That assumes that all the Keldons are facing the same direction.
Fair.
That's all I got there, though. But yeah, straight up, I guess it would be easier to run the Vorchas. With enough tactics, though, I think the battle station's 5 dice of damage from the Keldons is going to murder the Vorchas in the first 2 rounds of combat more than they can defensively deal with.
It really depends. First of all, it really depends on your captain, and second of all, it really depends on your cloak dice.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the first round, you're cloaked.
Mm-hmm. And you're very likely to take a crit or 2.
Yeah, but so is the little wimpy 2-shield Keldon that's facing down Martok 9.
Good old Martok 9.
Yeah.
We will play out this match one day.
It's a discussion, and Keldons are my... If we did 6, Keldons would be my number 6.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I was going to say, speaking of number 6, David, was this the match for your number 6 that you were planning on? Lost David.
David?
That's cool. He'll be back.
David?
Oh, sorry, I had myself muted. Yeah,
Oh.
Vorchas are probably my 6. Keldons are probably my 7. But that's a real toss-up.
See, here we go.
No love for the 608. What's that? The Scout Cube?
The retail Scout Cube. Not from me. I've been a fan of the Blind Booster Scout Cube more than the retail one for a long time.
Let's look. Next week is going to be underdog ships. Scout 608 might show up there.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
What has a weapon? It has a weapon slot. Oh, that's right.
Yes, it does have a weapon slot.
Yeah, if you're running cubes, you need the named versions, the tiny Scout cubes.
I have a fleet of... I briefly mentioned this last week. I have a peak performance fleet that's 4 Scout cubes, 2 of which are generics that have finagled weapons onto them. Specifically for the purpose of getting ridiculous things to happen, basically.
We love ridiculous things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, guys, that has been top 5 ships. Yay! Beta Borg Scimitar did not quite make it to the top 5 list, but you might see it again next week.
I don't even know if Scimitar cracks the top 10.
We'll have a debate. We'll have a wonderful, spirited debate. Was that David?
Yeah, Scimitar's on my top 10. I think Scimitar would have made it without the Dreadnought ruling. And Scimitar's one of those ones that's better now after the Hakona because of more of the cards that are out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna look. I go. Let's say Keldons are 6. Regent's flagship is 7. What else? Yeah, I mean, at this point, if we're going top 10, it's really me to not start including multiple Borg ships. You know.
Yeah, I didn't go beyond top 5. There's enough there.
I mean, probably I'd put Enterprise in there. Enterprise D.
Enterprise D with its 360 is good.
Probably like maybe 8 or 9. So I really just don't think the Scimitar cracks the top 10.
Well, there we shall have to disagree, sir. Aha! But that is a list for another time.
Yeah.
From now, that is just about everything. News-wise, we are waiting for more wharf rulings, particularly in relation to the latest wave, which is going to be cool. I personally am not paying attention to X-Wing, really, I swear. It's not that they just released all their stuff today, but the fact that they did get to release all their stuff today means that they finally made some progress in that whole port situation on the West Coast. Which means we should have ships faster now. Or at least more reliably on time.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be nice.
Yeah. Well, it still means that March 4th is release date, so.
True.
But that's okay. That means it's not going to get pushed back again.
Yay! When is the starting date for A Matter of Honor? Does anyone actually know?
No idea.
Thought it was like March, about the first week of March too, but I don't have anything to back that up with. But
No
yeah.
clue.
Other news. If you're the praying type, I'm kind of the praying type, so I'm just gonna give a prayer out to Leonard Nimoy, because cool guy, and yeah, we all know that. Other than that, I don't know. Anything Star Trek-y new coming up by you guys?
Not that I can think of.
No, I'm in a desert, literally.
A snowy desert.
A blizzard desert. Worst
I
kind.
live inside of a mountain. It's like the worst aspect of every single thing. It's funny, actually. What's incredibly ironic is that I play a lot of Civilization style games.
Mm-hmm.
In Civilization 5, so I am on a mountain in a desert immediately adjacent to a river, which is actually a really good starting place for Civ 5. Because if you're there and you're next to an ocean, you can build every single wonder in the game.
Nice. Except in real life, you're not mining mountains for gold and minerals.
Well, that's not the point.
And you're not growing food out of your river that gives you free trade.
Too bad.
Tucker, start your own civilization out there.
No. I'm lazy.
Sounds like a plan.
Uh,
Let's see. Onomi. I don't know that name. Playing in Matter of Honor on the 15th. Sounds like a fun plan. Bane of Borg. Doing theirs in a few weeks. Nice. I'm hoping to get mine set in a few weeks. Like I said earlier that our scene was kind of dropping off here in Central Florida. I'm trying to push for league play so we can get our Wednesday nights back. Because that was one of the big things that tossed a lot of people out, was that they, for months, they had their Wednesday nights planned out for their board gaming and Star Trek Attack Wing stuff, and then we lost that night because we were too many of us. They're like, there's too many of you guys. We need to make room for other people to play in the store. It's like, oh. And then ever since we've been on Tuesday, I don't think we've ever broken 4 people for a tournament. Sadness. At least that meant I always got a ship. Well, cool,
Yeah,
Onomi.
sure.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for following the state of the Federation. And yeah, I think if that's going to wrap it up. Yep, I hear no dissent, so thanks everyone for joining us again tonight. Make sure, especially if you're new, that you can check out our Facebook page, know when we're going live again. We also have all this on archive, on podcast, and on YouTube. There's links below the stream if you're watching us on Twitch. And yeah, that'll do it for us for tonight then. Hope to see you all next week, where we will have probably talk about peak performance, top 5 again, and we'll think of something. There'll be something interesting by then, I'm sure. But until then, good luck everybody. Have fun, play Star Trek, and may Q be generous with your dice. Thanks guys, have a good night.
State of the Federation is a production of Will S. in association with Tucker C. and David M. We are not associated or affiliated with WizKids Games, and except where specified, WizKids did not endorse or approve any of our podcasts. All copyrights are copyright of their respective rights holders.